This is Bob Oliphant from the Westford Historical Society and Museum, bringing you episode 12 of the Westford Wardsman podcast. The Westford Wardsman newspaper was published in Turner's Public Spirit, a weekly newspaper in Ayr a century ago. In this episode, we'll be reading the Westford Wardsman for the week ending Saturday, March 21st, 1908, and I will add comments as we read along to more fully elaborate on what was happening in Westford 113 years ago. This one starts right off with the town meeting. Last Monday, the town held its 179th annual meeting with the usual characteristic features incident to much New England gatherings. 329 voters recorded their opinions by ballot for their choice of town officers. Town clerk Edward Fisher read the warrant, the first article being to choose a moderator, and called for nominations. Honorable Herbert E. Fletcher was nominated and unanimously elected. After brief and pertinent remarks, the moderator proceeded with the business of the warrant. Article 2 called for the election of town officers and the license question. The polls were opened at 8 o'clock and proceeded without any visible rallying for any candidate, the contesting officers narrowing down to the choice of cemetery commissioner, school committee, and tree warden, with the question of license considered settled in advance in the negative, as in the past 22 years. I'm not going to read all of the warrants. Most of all of them are described here, but I'll read several select ones. The following were elected without opposition. Selectman O.R. Spaulding, 265 votes. And I won't read the rest of the votes, but I'll just mention that 265 was the largest number that were recorded for any of these people who were elected without opposition. Assessor J. Willard Fletcher, Overseer of the Poor Albert R. Schote, Treasurer Nahum H. Wright, Collector L.W. Wheeler, Auditor William R. Taylor, Commissioner of Public Burial Grounds for 3 years, G.T. Day, for 2 years, D.L. Grieg. H.E. Gould had 82 for Constable, E.G. Boynton, 258, Walter Precious, 158. John A. Healy had 138. 2 members of school committee, Walter C. Wright, 224. John Spinner, 166. T.A. Wilson had 152. Trustee of the J.V. Fletcher Library, Hugh F. Leith, 241. Tree warden, H.L. Nesmith, and 154, and W.E. Green had 153. Nesmith won by 1 vote, and we'll see that was contested, or that a recount was requested. On the question of granting license to sell intoxicating liquors, the answer of the voters was yes, 165, no, 141, a majority of 24 for license. The town has not granted a license since 1886, when one was granted to Matthew F. Downs at the Brick Tavern on the Groton Road, and one to Emery Sprague at Forge Village. The shift to license this year is due to 3 causes: illegal selling, so sly as not to be detectable; the closing of the mills at Forge and Graniteville for town meeting day, which brought out in full force the stronghold of the yes vote; and lastly, the encouraging close vote of last year, which was 149 to 184, when a change of 18 votes would have carried the town to license. The defeat of T. Arthur E. Wilson by 14 votes by John Spinner of Forge Village was due to the feeling that village should have a representative on the school committee. Mr. Wilson has served on the board for many years for the best interests of teachers, scholars, and town, and he can well retire, still preserving his usual unruffled manner, with the thought that his defeat was not a personal defeat, but rather the defeat of location. The defeat of John A. Healy for constable is to be regretted. He has been a courageous and faithful officer, but like all duty well done, it has its discouraging compensation. On Article 10, to fix the compensation of the tax collector, the town voted against any increase in compensation and fixed it at 1% on actual collections, although some towns pay more compensation for an inferior article. Meaning by that Leonard W. Wheeler, who was our tax collector, is a very good one. Skipping over several articles, we come to Article 13, to raise money for public schools. Albert R. Choate, chairman of the school committee, took the witness stand and testified that they did not have money enough last year, $65,000, and were in debt at the present time. And under cross-examination by Captain S.H. Fletcher, he was asked to give an account of his stewardship, why he was in debt. Mr. Choate replied that drawing had been introduced at the rate of $150, that the town itself was such a desirable place that one teacher had become worth $160 more to remain, that the balance of the debt was due to wear, tear, and repair. This explanation being satisfactory, it prepared the way to resume direct examination of the witness by Captain Fletcher as to the amount of money he could take care of this year, and the witness replied $7,200. On motion of A.J. Abbott, this amount was voted for the use of schools, $6,500 to be appropriated and $700 to be raised. Mr. Choate has been chairman of the school committee for many years, being free from any penny-wise, penurious squint in viewing public school questions. The town coincides with the marching step of the times as related to them, and hands him the cash to pay for the music that our schools are keeping time to. The next article is Article 14, to raise money for high school purposes. The school committee asked the town for $2,300, it being $100 more than last year and $200 more than the agreement between the town and the trustees of the academy. Mr. Choate explained that the extra $100 was for increased salary, that the agreement between town and trustees was conditional, that expenses did not exceed a certain sum. This explanation being accompanied with the usual stamp of satisfaction, the town cashed for $2,300. I should point out that at this time in our town's history, the town did not own a high school. The academy was owned by the trustees of Westford Academy. So in effect, the town paid the trustees for the use of the building, and I guess for the teachers also. Under Article 15, $1,600 was raised for support of the poor, $100 over last year. Article 19, to raise money to equip the new schoolhouse. Henry B. Reed, for the building committee, said that $887.22 was the lowest bid, and with other expenses asked for $900. Captain Fletcher asked if it would answer if 3 rooms were furnished this year, an affirmative answer being given, and the town feeling fatigued and poor at the thought of the new schoolhouse, $750 was raised. I believe this was money for the Frost School, which was being built at this time, and I think opened in September of 1908. Article 20, to raise money to drain the new schoolhouse lot. That's the one for the Frost School. Selectman Spaulding stated that it was proposed to drain Main Street from the house of A.J. Abbott and Depot Street from the house of John Feeney. With this explanation, the town felt more liberal towards its new purchase and raised $500. Under Article 21, the town raised $800 to assist the gypsy and brown-tailed moths in moving their domicile to warmer location. The road roller article was dismissed for lack of a defendant and the thought that the town already has investments in unhoused rollers. Under Article 24, the town voted to raise $500 for the repair of schoolhouses, and Mr. Choate said he would do the graduation honors of Westford Academy out of this sum also. This made all the orations prepared for Article 25 unnecessary, relating to appropriated money for graduation. Skipping down to Article 28. Article 28 was the burning question of the day relating to a change in road management and electing 3 road commissioners. The Honorable H.E. Fletcher, the moderator, called Edward Fisher to the chair and spoke in favor of the commissioners, claiming that our roads had always been a burning question and never satisfactorily solved, that under the proposed change our roads would be repaired earlier in the season, that as president of an automobile club it has often been thrown at him that the roads in Westford are in wretched condition. Captain S.H. Fletcher spoke in favor of the proposed change, believed in giving it a trial, and if it is unsatisfactory, it will repeal itself. Edward Fisher defended the present system and the superintendent of roads, as did also A.J. Abbott, J.C. Abbott, and others. William C. Edwards, who lives at Westford Corner, that's at the intersection of Oak Hill and Depot Streets, I believe, in what we know as Nassau. William C. Edwards, who lives at Westford Corner, claimed that repairs on the roads in that locality were not visible to the naked eye, and there was nothing to lose in making the change. A motion to dismiss the article was lost 83 to 91. The vote was doubted, and a poll of House ordered. J.M. Fletcher and S.H. Balch were appointed tellers. The vote was taken on motion of Senator to adopt the new road system. The vote resulted in 90 voting in favor of commissioners and 108 in opposition. Under Article 30, Town voted to change the date for ending the financial year, and on motion of the auditor, William R. Taylor, February 1st was fixed as the date for closing the financial year. Article 31 related to the appointment of a finance committee, whose duties shall be to investigate and report on all appropriations. The town voted to have a committee of 5 to be appointed by the moderator, who selected George T. Day, Sherman H. Fletcher, George H. Hartford, John A. Cameron, and Oscar R. Spaulding. I believe this was the birth of our finance committee. Under Articles 34, 35, and 36, the town voted to sell the Center District 1, the Neshoba District 4, and the long sought-for District Number 8 schoolhouses. And these were all sold to private individuals and turned into homes, private homes, I believe. After constituting the selectmen agents to look after the lawsuit tangle of any emergency involving the town, the meeting dissolved, and all disappointments may come up in some future warrant. The next section is the Westford Center section. The members of Mr. Marshall's adult Bible class, Mr. Reverend Marshall was the pastor at the Westford Congregational Church on Lincoln Street. The members of Mr. Marshall's adult Bible class, with a few other men of the Congregational Church, held a social in the vestry Wednesday evening. It was a real stag party. They required no feminine assistance, even with refreshments, which consisted of donuts, unitas, cheese, and coffee. I had never heard of unitas before, but they are a cracker that was sold by the National Biscuit Company, Nabisco. They were the first cracker sold that was individually wrapped using Nabisco's in-er seal package. That's spelled capital I-N hyphen capital E-R seal package. There was about 20 present, and the report goes out of an informal good time and the result in a pleasant way of strengthening the bonds of church fellowship. Dr. O.V. Wells has returned from a visit to Vermont relatives. He was born and raised in Vermont, I believe. For a few hours last week, Friday afternoon, the various householders who enjoy the new water supply noticed that their faucets did not respond very well. This was caused by a leak in the main pipe below A.I. Bicknell's house, which was at 2 Main Street, which was repaired in a few hours. A.I. is spelled capital A, small I. It was not an uncommon name back in the late 19th century. The 8th grade and center primary are having their 2 weeks of spring vacation, and the coming week will be vacation at the academy. Next is the Graniteville section. Westford has voted for license for the first time in a number of years, and many are the comments as to whether the selectmen will refuse to grant permission or place the price so high that no one will care to take the chance. There are many on the alert, however, and if 1 or 2 men do manage to secure a license, it is safe to say that they will only hold the job for 1 year, for the vote for yes was arrived at only by the merest chance and is due in a great measure to the overconfidence and carelessness that many of the citizens took in voting, or failing to vote, on this question. There was not agitation on either side, and to say that the result of the vote was a surprise to everybody is putting it mildly. The next paragraph is called Initiation. Sunday proved a great day for Court Westford MCOF. That stands for Massachusetts Catholic Order of Foresters. For on that day, 17 new candidates were initiated into the order in their rooms in Healy Hall. Degree team of Court Wanalancet of North Chelmsford was present and performed a very pretty initiative ceremony, which met with the approval of all present. Visitors were present from Lowell and Haverhill and a large delegation from North Chelmsford. Many thanks are due Court Wanalancet for its hearty cooperation in this affair, particular mention being made of Thomas Murphy and the other members of the degree staff who helped to make it the success it proved to be. Court Westford is now in a flourishing condition, having 60 good financial members on the roll. That means they all paid their dues. The next item is about the Fortnightly Club. Many people from this village attended the meeting of the Fortnightly Club in North Westford last week, Friday evening. The meeting was called to order by the president, Carl Wright, after which the following pleasing program was given. Opening hymn, Let a Little Sunshine In, by the audience. Orchestra selection, Mabel Miller, piano, Everett Miller, violin, Arthur Blodgett, cornet. Recitation, H.E. Gould. Reading, Frank Chandler. Song, Throw a Kiss to Papa. Maud Robinson. Reading, Mr. Olney. Song, When Mama Was a Little Girl, by Carrie Prynne. Reading, Fred Blodgett. Song, I'm Afraid to Go Home in the Dark, by Alfred Prynne. Reading, Mrs. W. W. Wyman. Duet, I've Grown So Used to You, Mr. and Mrs. Edwin Gould, orchestra. I imagine all those songs were humorous songs. The next section is the Forge Village section. Hose Company Number 3, Westford Fire Department, held its first meeting this week at the home of John Edwards. Meetings will be held once a month. Men were chosen and officers elected as follows. Captain and Chairman Elmer E. Nutting, First Lieutenant Richard D. Prescott, Second Edmund J. Hunt, Treasurer Frederick A. Sweat, Secretary Francis Lowther, Standing Committee Edward Hanley, Corny Precious, Edmund J. Hunt, Regular Firemen E. E. Nutting, H. D. Prescott, E. J. Hunt, F. A. Sweat, F. Lowther, William Hunt, Fenimore Morton, William E. Hosmer, C. Precious, E. Hanley. Callmen George Weaver, James Wingham, and Arthur Drolet. Funeral services for the late Mrs. Catchpole were held at the Mission House Friday afternoon, March 13th, and were largely attended by relatives and friends, many coming from a long distance. Reverend T.L. Fisher was the officiating clergyman, and the impressive service of the Episcopal Church was used. The choir sang 3 beautiful hymns, O Lamb of God, In the Hour of Trial, and as the casket was borne from the church, There is a Blessed Home. Miss Edith Normington presided at the organ. There was a profusion of beautiful flowers showing the regard of the neighbors and friends of the departed one. It will be hard indeed for the loved ones to take up the burden where she has lain it down and carry on the life work as before. As mentioned, this was held in the Mission House, and that's what we've come to know as St. Andrew's Mission in Forge Village, which is still there, but now is a private home. Burial was in Fairview Cemetery, Westford. The bearers were James Whigham, John Edwards, Fred Davis, and Edmund Hunt. That's the news in Westford for the week ending March 21st, 1908. Thank you for listening, and thanks to Nick Woodbury of Westford Cat for providing technical support. You can find transcriptions from the Westford Wardsman at the Westford Historical Society's website at museum.westford.org, or visit the Historical Society's Facebook page for more Westford news from a century ago. This is Bob Oliphant, and I hope you will join us for next week's Westford Wardsman podcast. Thank you.